Hey collectors, if you ask me what my favorite band is, it's gonna have to be a band that's always pushing the boundaries of sound, bending genres, somehow always mixing things yet making it sound completely intentional and new. And that band is gonna have to be Radiohead. I know. Totally predictable answer, right? The go to audio nerd pick. Of course, he would say Radiohead. So then, you ask me, what is your second favorite band? A band that maybe you followed for decades, that's emotionally raw, powerful, that's forged and been a foundation to all of the music that you love today. And to that, I would answer Deftones. Yeah, it's going to be the Deftones. But then, okay, you say, Peter, what about a band that does all of that, but yet still surprises you over and over and over again with every new release? A band that's constantly finding new ways to feel heartfelt, massive, and deeply human. And to that, my answer is all right, collectors. Today, let us discuss Horizon West by Thrice. This is the 12th studio album by the band from California. Now, full disclosure, I'm biased. I have been a fan of Thrice ever since Illusion of Safety, which came out, I believe, in 2002. So that is, 23 years ago, which is incredible. Some of you watching this today weren't even born. Now, Thrice, back in the day, was part of what we would consider the post-hardcore era, right? Uh, Late 90s, early 2000s, very aggressive, raw bands such as Thursday, At the Drive-In, AFI, Finch. A lot of these bands were coming off the tailcoats of bigger, more prominent bands like Fugazi. These were definitely sounds of a generation for many of us who were going through that era. This was new, this was exciting, and it was a way for music to use force, but emotion and depth and lots of different dynamics to express the emotions that we were going through and to tackle social commentary. Now, Thrice definitely has evolved a little bit outside of that since then. They've gone through many motions over the last couple decades. I would say that they're more of a progressive alternative rock band right now, but that's definitely a subjective take. We are going to talk more about the full album, the songs, the quality of the record, but first off, let's get going with an unboxing. Okay, so we have the record here, fully sealed still. This is the Horizon West limited edition colored vinyl from the official website. Now, there are a few different limited editions on there. There's 2 special editions that were sold out pretty quickly. This one, as of the time I recorded this, there are still some limited editions available. I believe they're numbered to 1500. So when we open this up, we'll see if there's any indication of what number this one in particular is. I do really love the artwork on this jacket. It's very minimalist, yet the color palette is beautiful. I was a little bit surprised to see what this album artwork did look like when it was revealed, because in my opinion it does sort of clash with Horizon East. What I mean here is, if you look at Horizon East, the color palettes match beautifully. I actually love how much they do match up in color, in tones. However, in style, not as much, right? So the new album does match up more with the style of something like Palms, which came out before Horizon East. And as a set essentially of East West, I thought they would be a little bit more cohesive other than just the color style. But, you know, that is what it is. Just an observation. But this one I do like. I like the very back of this as well. Again, minimalist, black and sort of these peach, brownish, warm tones, almost like wood tones, very natural looking. So this looks like it's going to be a matte cover, but let's go ahead and open this up. Yeah, it definitely is a matte finish. Very, very nice. The hype sticker on the front is translucent, so if you're planning to keep those, just be aware that it's on the front here. The title and band name are not part of the cover itself. They are part of the packaging. Okay, and here we have it. Now this is a single sleeve, not a gatefold. Pulling out the first sheet. Very nice. Beautiful. I love this geometry. Oops. Upside down. Here are your lyrics. Nice. And just the record itself. Here's that exclusive color from the website. I believe it's peach is what they call it. Simple, solid, matches up with the cover. All right, so I did take a look at the record itself. Sometimes when you get some limited editions, it will indicate somewhere on the sticker or the record itself what number you did receive, possibly even on the inserts, but I did not notice anything that was an indication. So I just know that I have one of the 1500, but that's because I know where I got it from. It is time to sleeve this up. Now, before I finish sleeving this up, I do want to kind of draw your attention here to this, what looks like a blemish from the packaging, but actually is by design. I looked at a reference picture for the record, and it is there on the reference. So if you open this and you're wondering what is this, what's going on here, well, that's on purpose. So I did warn you that I am biased, and being biased means that I'm just going to straight out say this album is incredible. Now, that is the perspective of somebody who's been following them for decades and has been through the journey with them, but I do believe there is something here for both old fans and new fans alike. Let's start first off by talking about the production value on here. I believe this might be one of the greatest productions that the band has put together to date. And to talk about that a little bit, let me introduce a term for you, and that term is stereo separation. Now, think about when you're listening to live music. You go to a concert, and the band comes out onto stage, and the guitar player comes out on your left, and the second guitar is on your right. You've got your bass player somewhere in the middle, your vocalists. The keyboards are out all the way in the back, and then the drums. When you hear the music playing live, the sound is coming at you from different directions, right? The guitars on your left-hand side are coming from the left. Same with those on the right-hand side. Now, stereo separation in production means that when they're editing the music, they're putting all of those pieces into place so that you're hearing them from the perspective of the different directions. And that is my completely layman's term description of stereo separation. However, I point this out because this album is a prime example of stereo separation. When you put it in, you can hear everything coming at you from all the directions. First and foremost, I do have to highlight on this album the bass. Thrice has always been highly regarded for their guitar work, whether it be electric or acoustic, and for the vocals. I mean, Dustin is just a very unique vocalist and has evolved from album to album. This is no exception. However, for this album in particular, I do believe a special shout out is required, and that is for their bass player, Eddie, who I think just does an absolutely incredible job on this album. The bass on this album is just so rich, and in particular, when you listen to it on the vinyl versus streaming, there's a depth here that I just don't think you can match throughout most of the other albums that they've put out. If you like deep tones in your alternative rock music, if you are looking for something that is driven by the bass drum and the bass guitar, this is just a fantastic album to own and to showcase. If you have been fans of Thrice for a little while, I will say I had, I'll admit, a moment that was kind of emotional listening to some of the tracks here. I was listening in particular to the song Undertow that then moved in and transitioned into Holding On. And I sort of had this outer body experience getting thrown back to 2008 because I just felt like I did right when I first listened to Alchemy Index. If you are fans of Alchemy Index or Beggars, I'm glad to tell you that this is possibly the closest that they've ever come to returning to those sounds. There's so much of, like, especially Alchemy Index, the Water album in here with some of the synthesizer music that they have in here. There's a lot of also Alchemy Index Air album in here. There's one of them I just thought, this is so reminiscent of Daedalus, which is one of their greatest songs, I think, of all time. If you are craving that era of Thrice, they didn't go all the way back to Artist in the Ambulance or anything like that with their sound. However, they are back in full force with something that is very close to Beggars, and for me, that's just great news. All right, let's wrap things up a little bit. Horizon West, this may very well be one of their best sounding albums, but not only that, it's also resonant, rich, emotional, raw, Anyone who loves albums that reward close listening will definitely benefit from having a physical copy of this album. I got so much more out of it just sitting down, slowing down, listening to every single song on the physical copy. It's rich, it's dynamic, it's warm. And like I said, listen for that stereo separation, especially on the physical copy. It will blow your mind. So, yeah, do I recommend this? Absolutely. If I've done nothing today but introduce just a single one of you to this fantastic band, then I'll have done my job. I've been listening to Thrice since my early days, and this honestly feels like a homecoming to me. And if you're new to the band, this is a perfect entry point. All right, collectors, thank you for watching. Leave me a comment. Let me know, have you listened to Horizon West? What are some of your favorite tracks? And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and joining us again for some upcoming videos. Until next time, keep collecting.